All right, well, thanks for welcoming me back. It's great to see some of you I haven't seen for a long time. All right, so I'm going to talk about vintage 3D advertising systems. And I made that up, advertising system, in terms of 3D. I don't know if it's been used before, but as I've been collecting, there's obviously lots of promotional 3D items. And we'll go through some of the ones that are just like one-offs. But I did start to notice there were some that, to me, sort of qualified as a complete 3D advertising system. So what qualifies as an advertising system? So the way that I am defining it is the viewer's first and primary purpose is as an advertising vehicle. Additionally, a significant part of the viewers, the company that issues it, their business is marketing to other businesses. And lastly, they've established themselves with a number of advertising viewers. So not just one or two, but they actually have, I don't know what a number would be, but let's just say more than 5 or 6. So something like the Vista screen. So they've got the Weet-Bix version, the Weetabix version, but they don't go much farther than that. So what I'd say doesn't really qualify is the advertising is like secondary. So something like TrueView or StoryView, where they obviously did and marketed and did advertising. TrueView had lots of advertising films. They're very hard to find, but that wasn't their primary business. StoryView, did the fairy tales. If you're familiar with the StoryView and the Pixie View viewers, I'm not sure. I don't think I included any pictures in here, but they did also do some advertising. And then Viewmaster, obviously, there are, advertising reels for Viewmaster, but that was more of a secondary thing. One-off promotions, so there are Realist, Sterling, as I mentioned, Weet-Bix, Weetabix. There are viewers that are combined into advertising sets as like one-off promotions. So like if you think of the Oldsmobile set, I actually have a picture of that, so we'll go into that. And then one-hit wonders. So I'll show a few of those. Maybe 2 hits, 3 hits, maybe there's 1 or 2 or 3 of them, but that's it. So that's my system. You can challenge it. Would love to discuss it with some of you that have been doing this longer than me. I came up with a rating. So I'm giving it 3 stars if the packaging is branded, the viewer is branded, and the views, if they all match, that's complete. So where you get a little bit of a cheat is if the packaging is actually also the viewer. So there are a few of those. If you've got 2 of 3, and we'll see a few of those where you rarely ever see the viewer actually branded, but you'll see the packaging and the views. Or maybe you have 1 of 3. So it's just the viewer or just the views. So you'll see some examples of those. So I'm going to start with a 3-star system stereo cardboard, created by Fort Pierce Industries out in Florida back in the 50s and 60s. And I've got about 14 in my collection. So you've probably, if you follow my Instagram, have seen me post a few of these. And I think I posted recently on Facebook in the NSA group. One of the things I really like about theirs, so I'm giving them 3 because they do the packaging, the views match with their advertising, and then obviously the viewer. Now, in some cases, most cases, the viewer is the package, but there are some where there is an additional envelope that it comes in, and that will be branded as well. So it gets 3 stars. But what I love about this is they use every part of the viewer for branding: the top, the bottom, the sides. and that's one of the great things you can do with paper. One of the reasons you probably don't see a lot of the later, like the, obviously the metal viewers, they're not branded. I mean, you're not going to do all of that with typically. Oh, we'll see some though in a moment. So the Dodge and the automobile viewers, some of these can go for $500 or more for this cardboard viewer. And the reason is because you're competing with automobile collectors who want to have a Dodge item or a Ford item. So I feel happy to have captured a few of these, and I did not pay $500 for these. This is one of my favorites because it actually has a swatch of cloth on it. And I just love the marketing directly to women here, and just the wording that they use. And it's kind of cool.
Keita, just a quick note. Could you move your cursor a bit because it's right in the middle of the present. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't see that. Thanks for
it's still there, maybe a bit further down. Yep, perfect.
Okay. All right, and this is a Ford Falcon viewer, and this one actually has a little fold out with some additional information. Marineland. These I consider more promotional. These are things that you would actually pick up while you're at an event. So some of these are marketed to consumers, and then some are to other businesses. And this one is for Minvite. Interesting graphics on it. And I am missing the card for this, although I actually think I made a connection and can get the card for it, but this one is Lockheed. So usually the side panels were used for logos. Moving on to Taylor Merchant. And the time frame for this is about in the 1950s, 60s. I've got about 8 of these. So in comparison to some of my other sub collections, not very many. I don't see them very often. This is a 2-star system. So rarely would you ever see the actual viewer branded. And I say rarely because I did find one for McDonnell Douglas. I actually didn't put it in here. I meant to, but I forgot. It came with one slide in it, but the viewer, I mean, branded, it had a sticker on it. But typically what they look like, let's go inside one of these, the one for Pepsi. So that's what the viewer looks like. It folds flat and you squeeze it to do the viewing. And then it'll have a set of slides. Usually there are about 8 slides if you are lucky to get that many. My Pepsi one had just 2. So these are the 2. Demoing a Pepsi display. And here's one for American Standard bathrooms. This one had some really nice slides with some vintage bathrooms. There's one of them. And this one for thin light curtain wall, which is like sort of this outer sheeting system for buildings. I had to, it's been a few years since I researched what in the world a curtain wall was, but someone actually got in touch with me in Sacramento, California, Northern California, because they were documenting buildings that were still in the area and still had, retained their vintage structure, and were interested in seeing some of these slides, because some of the buildings in the slides are actually in Northern California. So that's all I'll go into on that one. This one, NPG, is one of my favorites. And this is a 1-star system, although they did venture into, I think I've got a 3-star and a 2-star application of it, but it's mostly 1 because it's usually just the viewer. The views do not advertise what the viewer does. It's just usually scenic, general scenic views. But this NPG was created by Arthur Schwartz, and time frame was right around 1900 to 1905-ish. And I've got 15 in my collection. I had about 6 until Pascal made a connection for me, and I was able to add a bunch more, and was really excited about that. So just looking at the plain NPG one, mostly what you'll see, if you've seen these, they're imperial. So there's an American imperial one and there's a German imperial one, and they come with different series of sets, but I'm going to focus just on the advertising ones. And there are 2 designs. There's one that is just fixed focus, and then there's another where the card holder will actually slide back and forth. And they'll usually have a little small NPG logo in the bottom corner, the ones that are advertisement viewers. So here's a 3-star though. This one is a linen company. It comes with the whole packaging, the top of the box, the bottom of the box, advertises the company, the viewer, and the views. And it is, I'll go back to this one. It's a rare color for one of these viewers. And those are just some of the views. 2-star application of this viewer is it Durkop company, and they have the packaging and the viewer, but not the views. So those are the views, and they're just generic views. So I'll just quickly show a few of the others that I have in my collection. These are both chocolate companies. The sutured one, I won't say it's common, but I do see it come up for sale maybe once a year. But some of these I've never seen anywhere. The more countries I can add, the better. And so I love that some of these are from the Netherlands, from Spain. So this next one, so as you can see, like looking back at a few of these, the colors are mostly green, blue, gold, except for that first one that I showed that was kind of this, I'm not sure what kind of green you would call that, but I love when I can find one with red. And typically what the views look like, the general views, the view will be general, but they will have some marking on them that pertain to the viewer. But I don't actually count that. They don't get a star for that. I did want to add, so these next 2 slides are not in my collection, but Andrew, when he saw that I was going to present on NPG, he shared this with me. He found these larger views. NPG, you'll see down in the corner. And this first one is a more general view, but you'll see the advertising on the back. And so that was a thing back with some of the homes-based style viewers. In fact, NPG had a viewer like that, and they had larger views. But what's cool though is that in this series, Andrew was telling me, you know, they have these general scenic views, but then you would get these actual advertising ones as well as part of the set. All right, so moving on to, I will not go into this one in detail because I did a whole presentation last year on this, but Stereo and Doofer, and they get a 2-star rating because they are branding the viewer and the views. And this is from Alfred Croft, Carl Neithold in the 20s and 30s, and lots of different industries. And I've got about 15 in my collection, mostly 2-star, but they've got a couple of 3-star applications where they actually did the outer packaging as well. This one is Textile Machine Works, and there's another Berkshire Knitting Mills, both in Pennsylvania. And that's just an example of one of the views. and not going into all of them, but those are just some of the ones. And that's just different ways that they actually will brand their viewers. So the last actual system that I'll share is stereophoto and Pintoplast. And the stereophoto was created by Weisacker in Stuttgart. And I think the Pintoplast was created by Heinz Bies, both in Stuttgart. I think there was some collaboration going on between them. The time frame is the 30s to the 50s. So the Weisacker one is actually in use a lot later. And there are some with color film. I've got 25 in my collection. I know there are 30 in this picture. But, a couple of those are empty. And definitely a system in that, and it's a one-star system. So if I go back, it's got one because it's always usually the same viewer. But each viewer comes with different marketing inside of it. This is just one that I happen to come across that has different companies on the same roll of film. So all of the others are, one company. It's highlighting, showcasing one company. This one, it had an index of all of the companies that are shown on this particular one. So not sure if this was like a promotional tool that they took around to other businesses to get them to come on board, like see how many of these we're doing. So just to give you a quick tour of the viewer itself, this is the more complicated one that it's got the roll of film inside. You push a little button on the front and the lens holder pops up, and then you can additionally focus with a little kind of spinning wheel there where you can push the lenses out further. Slightly different design on this stereo photo. This is a Pintoplast. So you can see they're very similar. And these come in metal, and I actually have some cardboard ones, which is interesting. They're partially cardboard, but the lens frame is metal. And another version of the Pintoplast, which is not a roll of film, but actually has these, I don't know, film, like pieces of film, film frames sort of, that go in, and these rollers kind of rotate them to the front. So I'm going to say they did a little bit of two-star here with actually trying to brand their viewer. On the left, you'll see a few of them will actually have the company with a little metal plate on it. On the right, I was super excited to find one that is actually engraved. It's kind of beat up a little bit, still perfectly functional, but this was one that my connection in Germany was able to acquire for me, and wasn't even sure I would want it. And I was like, yeah, I'll take that. And when I got it, I was just like, oh my God. So little collector's dream, because it has a crank on the side too. I mean, come on. How cool is that? So I'm just going to take you on a little bit of a tour of some of the pictures that are in these, because that's the exciting part for some of these that I just acquired. But let's just start with this particular one. So this is just a company, Electron Metal Kanstat. This company was founded around in 1919 by Helmuth Hertz, and grew to be one of the largest non-iron steel metal processing companies in Germany. I have one for the, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, Voigtlander camera company. So a couple of images from that one. I have one that is a Porsche manufacturer. They were near the Porsche factory, but they were one of the main and largest dealers and suppliers and distributors. So Han Zuffenhausen. So go through some of the pictures, and of course,
Keita, it's Zuffenhausen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Pascal, please feel free to jump in here. You and I will have to do a project to actually like get some of these in a way that people can view them and read about them, because there's so much history on these that they're really incredible. And the color on this has really stood the test of time. This is a tea factory. I like it because the name is almost just like my name. There's also the NSU motorbike. Another viewer had a whole roll of this in it, showing them being made. Some of the pictures are just really cool in 3D. Sorry that I could not deliver that for you. Volkswagen.
Volkswagen.
Thank you, Pascal. Who knows what a Heidelberger is? The original Heidelberger.
They made printing press machines.
Yes. There's a whole roll of that company's factory. Mercedes-Benz. I have two viewers with Mercedes-Benz. One has what seems to be photos of models of their factory, whereas the other one, this one, actually has the factory photos. So that was my last advertising system. I'll take about maybe 5 more minutes just to go through some of the kind of the secondary ones that I have. So if you are familiar with the story view, they have a few different sets that are like advertising or educational, like medical sets. They have one advertising the Arizona Traveler boats. A Dodge one, Dodge Plymouth. Another medical set where the packaging and the viewer this time is actually branded for Merck. It's another of the really early style Pixie viewer. It's also branded. So TrueView did a lot of advertising as well. There were times when they actually would brand their box, either with some kind of tape that was just applied to the box. They, in Canada, Chrysler of Canada had a deal with TrueView and had some promotional items. This is an interesting set where they called it the Sail Scope, but it was a TrueView that was inside the box. And that's just a frame from the film. And, you know, everybody knows the realist, but there it is inside of a Oldsmobile set, which I actually have a lot more slides for this now. So I actually need to update this photo. And the Sterling, here it is inside this Dustronic advertising set. And they called their views duo views. And then lastly, just a few one-offs. So this is, this viewer is, I should have shown a side picture of it, but it is just like a phytoscope viewer, metal black kind of expandable viewer that was actually branded. I rarely see the actual viewer branded as it is in this case for Casanova cigarettes. This is a really cool one for Kaiser coffee, where it folds over the lenses and then opens up to be a viewer. This absolutely lovely viewer, it's like one of the very small kind of box-shaped rotoscope ones, but had this just lovely advertising on it. Came with its own little box there. Lastly, I've posted this one on Instagram before, but this really early automobile promotional tool for the Dion automobiles, where it was a book and it actually had pages that talked about the vehicles, but then also folded out into this viewer. Very, very rare and delicate. Just a couple of the kinds of photos that are inside of it. And I believe lastly is Colleen Moore, which this was viewer 3, was it 3D Studios? Wait, no, I'm forgetting the name of the actual company that made it. They have their own viewer, but they made one for Colleen Moore. So I actually thought it was always just a Colleen Moore viewer, but there's actually a company, they have their own, and it's a nice blue cardboard viewer, almost just like this one, but then this was a promotional item. And that is it.